Hi, Mike Tom, and joined by Andrew Hiebert. By day, a science teacher. By night, something we'll tell you about in a little bit. Andrew, first of all, yeah, you're a science teacher. Tell us about that part of your life, where you teach and what you teach.
I teach at MBCI, and I'm the senior, one of the senior science teachers there. I teach physics, chemistry, grade 11 and 12, and I also teach a couple of sections of grade 8 science. So my whole teaching career has been science.
I was just talking with my niece the other day, saying one of my biggest life regrets, I never took physics in high school, and I regret it. So it looks really cool.
Physics, what I love about physics is it asks the deep question of why. And
Ah,
I think physics is as close as science gets as to really sort of addressing some of the God questions, and it's really awesome.
does it blow your mind when you do like a physics experiment and then you're like, wait, but this is all by design by a creator?
Oh, totally. And what I try to instill in my students is that science. Many people think that science is sort of drawing people away from God, and for me, it feels like science just draws people to God as they have to really confront the wonder and the intelligence and the symmetry and beauty of it all.
Very cool. And something else that draws a lot of people to God is art. And if people look in the background here, you might see a few paintings, some paintbrushes behind you, and a big poster there. You're also an artist. How long have you been painting and doing art?
Um, I have sort of been an artistic person my whole life, uh, but I began picking up the paintbrush about 20 years ago. And I have slowly developed it, and in the last 7 years, I have really gotten into it in earnest.
And so you have an exciting event coming up. Runs for quite a while, but it launches Thursday, September 1st here in Winnipeg, an art show or exhibit called Nevertheless Peace. So tell me a little bit about that title, Nevertheless Peace. What's the idea behind this exhibit?
The work was created during the pandemic in the last 2 years, and the the whole work began sort of with a wax bulb amaryllis. I bought a wax bulb amaryllis, and it's this thing it's a bulb. It's covered in wax, and you just put it on your counter and you just leave it. You don't water it. You don't put it in soil. You don't do anything to it. And as the season went on, I bought it in November. As the season went on in December, it started to grow and grow and grow, and then before Christmas started to bloom, and it bloomed and it bloomed and it bloomed, and there was never a drop of water, never any soil, and it kept blooming and blooming and blooming, and it was just and one bloom and two blooms, and I'm like, this thing is absolutely gorgeous, and I just thought it is doing this all without what is the normal nutrients. Like, nevertheless, it's been denied so many things. Nevertheless, it's still pumping out beauty, and I just found that as a deeply instructive thing as to how, in spite of external circumstances, beauty can still come from within, and God can cause us to have that flow inside out, regardless, nevertheless. And so I decided to paint it. And so that was the first uh, picture. And then from there, I just thought, it's just too incredible. And so that it led to a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth. Then I did a series of 6 of them that looks very just kind of in this vein, at different flowers at different stages. And then it just sort of unraveled from there. And this idea that, the internal locus is way more important than the external, and that we can still bring beauty, we can still act in love, we can still reach out and be kind, regardless of what anybody else or whatever the world is doing around us.
I love that so much. Like, nevertheless, in the midst of turmoil and upheaval, and the last 2 years have been so hard on people. And I think especially the last like 8 months, right? Like, not only then did we have more issues with the pandemic, but the war in Ukraine
Oh
raging
yeah.
on and crime in the city, even, right? And we hear bad news story after bad news story. But nevertheless, in the midst of that, well, God's at work still.
Yeah. So this whole exhibit is for people who are experiencing all of that and want to do whatever they can to nevertheless sort of foster their own inner peace.
What was it like for you to paint these pictures? And yeah, did you go through I don't know, go through your own kind of reckoning with the tension of like peace and upheaval, I guess, and turmoil and things like that.
Well, when like each piece of work takes a long time, and so there's a lot of introspection, and there's a lot of I've done a lot of thinking as to, okay, so where does peace come from? So the half of the exhibit was painted in 2021. The other half was painted in 2022, and so the first half didn't really realize or didn't know that there was going to be a war in Ukraine. The second half is painted with that awareness, and so I've been thinking a lot about peace. So, like for example, here's a piece that I did. It's called "The Treachery of Violence." And a lot of people think that guns are the peacemakers of the world, and that the solution is just bring more guns, send more guns, and guns will bring peace. And this, in French, it says, "This is not a peacemaker," and it's a play on the work that Rene Magritte did, which is he had a "This is not a pipe,"
And it was a
and
pipe.
so I just been thinking a lot about different kinds of things about peace, and added some different things into the show. This one is very sort of literal, but some of them are more
Right.
metaphorical about, where does peace come from, and how do we, is it something that we just go out and get, or is it something that we have to foster from within? uh, if peace requires the shedding of blood, whose blood needs to be shed? And these questions sort of have led me
Ah.
to in deep insights.
That's really interesting. I'm liking this, and I was just thinking, this is a great exhibit. Maybe somebody says, "Oh, a gun is a peacemaker." Well, a great exhibit to go and walk through and think through, whether you're maybe traditional Mennonite pacifist background, or I don't know, somebody on the other side like a just war theorist or something like that, right? But great to just go, even if you disagree with that, and then look at the art and think about it and walk through it and see what you experience yourself.
Hmm. That'd be awesome. And
What
the goal is for people to sort of engage these questions and allow themselves to, focus, feel, and find a way to flow into deeper peace.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is what do you hope people take away from it when they come and yeah, what else do you kind of hope people experience or what have people experienced if you've given anybody a sneak peek?
So a lot of art, in the art world is sort of, they celebrate a lot of futility. So a lot of modern art celebrates futility, and it's a celebration of like, well, it's all pointless anyways. Um, my art, and I do sort of abstract stuff and impressionist stuff, and this show is pretty much all impressionist. My stuff is all designed to sort of flow against that, in the sense that I believe that art is a beautiful way to nudge people, one more millimeter closer to God, and sort of subconsciously just give them a gentle push, and so that they show them that there is a deeper meaning, and there is beauty, and we can sort of do things to sort of call that out. And so that's what I'm hoping, that when people come to the exhibit, I can just nudge them a little bit closer towards not only peace, but ultimately to the Prince of Peace, right? And just sort of just nudge it, and in a gentle invitational way, and see if people, because I think people are hungry for it. We
Yeah.
need peace in so many ways, relational, financial, global, like, and I think there's a powerful gift that we can give.
I love that thought, a gentle nudge. You're not hitting them over the head with it, but just kind of poking towards thinking. Tell us a little bit about the show itself. I know it opens up Thursday, September 1st, like we mentioned. It's running the whole month of September, I believe, right? Give us the details.
So in the Exchange District, there's a fantastic gallery called the Fleet Gallery. It's on Albert Street, 65 Albert. It's been there for like, I don't know, 50 years or something. Uh, and the opening event happens on Thursday night from 7 to 10 p.m. And just a great celebration of friends, family, and fine food and fine art. And then it runs business hours the entire month of September. and people can drop in at their leisure. Like especially if people are concerned about crowds. Generally, galleries are very sort of serene places, and if you go not at an opening, hopefully there will be lots of people and it'll be very exciting. But if you want more of a serene experience, you could drop in during business hours, and you may be the only person in the shop, and then you can look and see and contemplate the work and just sort of feel it.
I'm wondering, as an artist, when somebody walks up to a painting you've done and they say, "Oh, I love this," and they say whatever they took away from the painting, but that was like not your intention at all.
Right.
And they're like, "Oh, I love how it's about this," and you're like, "Well, that's not what it was about." Do you like, yeah? What's your response? Are you like, "No, that's not what it's about," or is it interesting to see what others take away?
I find it fascinating, and that's another the beautiful thing about art is that it is invitational and it's
Huh.
open-handed. So in my work, I deliberately try to embed things and set up the possibilities of what I'm trying to offer people, knowing full well that the human mind and imagination is so broad that people may bring and draw in other things, and I am totally okay with that. As long as, like, for example, if somebody saw, like, for example, this painting of a machine gun, and they were like, "Oh, you love violence. You're celebrating the
Right.
Kalashnikov
Yeah.
culture," and I'll be like, "Whoa, I think you've misunderstood me." But for the most part, I'm very happy with the open-handed approach. But with some things, I would probably have to like, redirect and say, "Well, you know what? Actually, I was going more in this direction." But as long as people are in the general wide path of it, I'm okay.
Nice. Well, again, the big kickoff tonight is Thursday, September 1st, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. It runs at the Fleet Gallery. We'll have details up at chvnradio.com. For people that want to know more about you, Andrew, see more of your work and stuff like that, do you have a website or anything they could find you on?
Yes, thank you. They can find me on Andrew S. Hiebert, just all one series of letters, AndrawSHiebert.com. They can also find me on Instagram, Andrew S. Hiebert. And if they go on Instagram, they can see, sort of get a taste of the kind of art that I do and get a sense of what some of the images will look like. Also have some fun reels and videos, and that can
Nice.
all be found on Instagram.
Right on. Well, looking forward to it. I'm hoping to get to the launch tonight. My bedtime's 8 p.m., so I might come in and out,
Yeah,
Andrew.
come early. Come early.
Right on. Thank you so much, Andrew, and all the best.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.